welcome to episode 2 of season 1 of More Than Raiment. Season 1 is about mindset and motive, and in the first 5 episodes of season 1, we will be talking about what modesty is not. And for episode 2, modesty is not just about long skirts. Often when we think about dress reform and modesty, we think about going to the nearest thrift store and grabbing a bunch of long skirts, or we think, I've been invited to the royal wedding. Let's see, what should I? Long skirts, yes. And it's a start. It's somewhere to begin. Modesty is encompassed in dress as well as deportment, behavior, speech, words and actions, as well as appearance, how you show yourself. It's an overall presentation of who you are. The root word for the word modesty is cosmos, and this word only occurs twice in the Bible. Once is in 1 Timothy chapter 2, verses 9 and 10, which says, "In like manner also, that women adorn themselves in modest apparel, with shamefacedness and sobriety, not with broidered hair, or gold, or pearls, or costly array, but which becometh women professing godliness, with good works." So the word there, modest, was talking about, it was an adjective for the word apparel, which is clothes. So here it's talking about clothes, and here the main audience is women, although it does not only pertain to women, of course. We'll talk more about that later. Then there's 1 Timothy chapter 3, verse 2, and though it does not use the exact word modest, there's a phrase in 1 Timothy 3, verse 2 that has the same root word, cosmos. Here it is. "A bishop then must be blameless, the husband of one wife, vigilant, sober, of good behavior, given to hospitality, apt to teach." Can you guess which of the words or phrases that I said in that verse that has the same root word as modest? Which word in verse 2 has the root word cosmos? Can you guess? It's the phrase "of good behavior." So that is interesting that cosmos, which is used to describe clothes in one verse, is used to describe behavior in another. And the main audience for this is anyone who desires to be a bishop. And a bishop must be the husband of one wife. So we can imagine we're talking to primarily men, but should only men have good behavior? Should only women have modest apparel? Of course not. Should only bishops be given to hospitality? Should only women adorn themselves and their lives with good works? No. Oh, fascinating. So we learned that modesty really does talk about dress as well as deportment, adornment as well as decorum. I'm just having fun with my synonyms here. Don't mind that. It's breakfast making time, more or less. I think that this is actually really fascinating because we get to see the intentions of God as in a more holistic way as to why He would want us to be modest, when we don't look at it as just a reformation of dress, but of overall presentation of Christ in us. I think that's really it's fascinating, and it's a good way of looking at things. Here, even in the verse that says modest apparel, that whole verse is actually telling you all the things that we are to adorn ourselves with, as well as without, but those particulars we'll go more into in probably season 2 or season 3. But here, we adorn ourselves with modest apparel. We adorn ourselves with shamefacedness, which is sort of the opposite of boldness. And by boldness, I don't mean courage and bravery. I mean like the opposite type of boldness, the more negative application of boldness, where it's kind of like disrespectful almost. Yeah, so shamefacedness is the opposite of that. Sobriety is the state of soundness of mind, and good works, that's like acts of service and charity and love. So as these are the same types, similar types of good works that Dorcas or Tabitha in the book of Acts adorned her life with. So yes, we decorate our lives with the beauty of loving speech, of dignified bearing, and it's just a fascinating concept overall when you look at it that way. I became fascinated by this idea of modesty being more broad than it's usually discussed as. So I did a quick little Google search for modest behavior, modest conduct, insert synonym for behavior here. And I was hoping to find maybe some Bible studies or something that someone was saying, maybe some Bible verses and resources that I can investigate myself. I didn't find anything. You go ahead and try it. You won't find what you're looking for. I found 3 things. 1, when I typed in modest behavior, I got mindless behavior, which is like this secular band. That's not at all what I was looking for. 2, I found a bunch of things on modest dress, and I can understand why, because when people say modest, they're usually just talking about dress, which is sad, but it's what it is. And the 3rd thing that I found was rather interesting. It's a government study on how different cultures practice modesty, in their own respects. Different cultures, like Asian cultures, European cultures, Canadian. I found that interesting, and though it was not what I was looking for, it's still kind of intriguing. So this begs the question, what is modest behavior? What does modest behavior look like? And I'm glad you asked. We'll be going over that in future episodes. But we do tend to define these sorts of things along traditional and cultural lines. When we try to study these things, we tend to have the cultures of earth, whatever cultures that we were brought up in our minds. And the cultures of earth and the culture of heaven are different. Also, if we're being completely honest, usually when we try to make these different personal cultural changes, we tend to lean more Eurocentric. So, music, diet, dress, these things, these cultural changes that we try to make in our personal lives, if we're trying to make them more holy, we tend to lean more Eurocentric. So that is dangerous, because every culture has their own mixture in varying degrees, their own mixture of truth and error. reflections of who God is and reflection of who God is not. Every culture has that mix. So we can't really demonize one culture, glorify another, and because the culture of heaven is above all of these other cultures. So we do have to be careful in defining what God wants by our preconceived notions, by our expectations, and our cultural upbringings. Alright, so this has been great and sort of exciting. Maybe not for you, but for me. So in our next episode, we will talk about how modesty is not the same as dress reform. Modesty is not the same as dress reform. We sort of hinted at it today, talking about how modesty is about how we carry ourselves overall in terms of both dress and deportment. Deportment including our speech, our behavior, just our overall conduct, and how the dress sort of matches that conduct that we are bringing forth to bring an overall presentation of Christ in us. And dress reform is, pertains to dress. And, I'm getting ahead of myself, aren't I? You tried to bring that out of me, huh? No, you gotta wait till the next episode. So I'll see you there. How deep the Father's love for us, how vast beyond all measure, that He would give His only Son and make a wretch His treasure. How great the pain of searing loss, the Father turns His face away, as wounds which mar the chosen one bring many sons to glory. Behold the man upon the cross, my sin upon His shoulders. Ashamed, I hear my mocking voice call out among the scoffers. It was my sin that held Him there until it was accomplished. His dying breath has brought me life. I know that it is finished. I will not boast in anything. No gifts, no power, no wisdom. But I will boast in Jesus Christ, His death and resurrection. Why should I gain from His reward? I cannot give an answer. But this I know with all my heart, His wounds have paid my ransom. Why should I gain from His reward? his wounds have paid